Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to be joined by Marcie Shelton, the founder and CEO of The Leader's Partner, a leadership coaching and strategy consultancy dedicated to helping individuals and organizations accelerate their growth through intentional leadership development. With a background in executive coaching, organizational transformation, and people-centered growth strategy, Marcie brings a grounded yet progressive approach to the table. Marcie, welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks for having me, Ammar. Great to be here.
I'm excited to dive in. I always like to start from the beginning. So, can you take us on a little trip down memory lane to before you started The Leader's Partner? What were you doing at the time? And then what was really the motivation behind starting your company?
Absolutely. So I'll take you back to the end of my corporate America days. It was probably 2018, 2019. I was starting to get kind of anxious and unhappy, but I didn't know why. I just realized not quite fulfilled. Didn't know if it was just the struggle or the challenge or the balancing family or whatever those things were. I found my way into a more project-based role, one that required less travel. Thought that would scratch the itch. That didn't work. I negotiated then to go part-time. So in late 2019, I negotiated to go part-time in early 2020. Of course, at the end of 19, we didn't know it was coming in early 2020. But my goal at that point in time was, hey, let me work 50%. And then the other 50% will be, what do I want to do next with my life? Kind of slowly working my way into that space. Of course, so I negotiated to do that in March of 2020. And
Yeah.
of course, we know what happened in spring of 2020. So I basically turned my extra 20 or 30 hours a week into homeschooling and dealing with COVID and all those types of things. So during that time, we also decided it was time to move. So we were living in Southern California at the time. We moved up to Northern California, just outside of Sacramento, and decided things were pretty stable here. We were ready to make this switch. So I quit corporate America in the spring of 2021 and really wanted to take this idea of helping leaders with their people and business challenges to the local community and really dive in and be a part of this greater Sacramento community. It took a few months to figure out which direction I was headed, and then I actually got my first client at the end of 2021.
Awesome. Awesome. What was that initial shift like from corporate America? Obviously, COVID was in the middle, so there was a lot of things that happened there, but to starting your own company, because I know it's very different being your own boss.
Very different. I would say I'm still detoxing some days. It's a long process to detox from the corporate space. A couple of the things I set out intentionally to do, one was to volunteer and really become a part of a community. I was lucky enough in my corporate space to move around a lot. We were interested in that. Let the company pay the bill. We got to explore a lot of the United States, but we didn't live anywhere. And by that, I meant I didn't know community members. I didn't know the chambers of commerce. I didn't live there. I didn't have a community like I did growing up. And
Yeah.
so I was intent when we moved up here to spend time getting to know the community, volunteering, just creating genuine connections first and trusting that the business would follow at some point after that. So that's probably my biggest shift, because in corporate America, it was 60 hours a week and you come home and you do your thing and then you go back to work, and there really isn't time or space
Yeah.
to connect in a more meaningful way.
100%. You don't have as much time freedom or flexibility as you would
Exactly.
if you're running your own business. So let's give the listeners a little bit more context and fast forward to today with your company. Who is your ICP? Who do you love to work with? And then what are the different ways that people can work with you? What is your offering services? Walk me through that.
Absolutely. Yeah. My ideal client is a business owner or leader who recognizes their organization is not functioning the way they like it to, right? And they're humble enough to recognize that they, as well as probably the other leaders in the organization, are responsible for that, but responsible in a way that they want to take ownership and do something about it. What I've learned the hard way early on is I can't convince a business they need to change or behave differently if they don't already know it. Right. I am no longer in the business of convincing somebody they need me. Once they realize they need help, they're going to find me if it's meant to be, right? And we're going to work together. And that can range in all different size businesses. That can be a business of 10 people, that could be a business of several hundred people. For me, size and revenue isn't as big of a deal as if the owner or the main leader and leadership team have a recognition that where they are is not where they want to be, and they
Mm,
recognize they play a role in fixing that. I love working with nonprofit organizations. I feel in addition to the other volunteering that I do, it's a way for me to give back to the community because those organizations are great at what they do, whether it's
yeah,
housing or foster care or whatever. If they can operate efficiently and effectively, then they themselves can go out and impact the community much better than they can if they are not operating efficiently.
100%. It has a huge trickle down effect when you focus on the leaders, and then therefore the organization improves, and then the mission, whatever they're looking to do, can be more efficient, like you were saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's say people are listening to this and they self-identify, know the leadership isn't where it needs to be. I know we could be more efficient. I know we can improve the organization. What does it actually look like to work with you? What are those different offers, packages? Walk me through that.
Sure. So I absolutely will work one-on-one with any individual leader, a person who either needs coaching for him or herself, or has a team member that they'd like to assign a coach to. And they can reach out with me directly. I regularly will suggest 6 months to get started. It takes a long time to change human behavior. I act as a bit of an accountability partner, right? Let's go learn what you need to do, then go practice it, come back and tell me if it worked or not. Let's try it again, keep trying. Oftentimes they will extend past 6 months, but we start with 6 months. So can go in the individual coaching route. I've got another client right now, a larger nonprofit organization, and they are ready to say, you know what, we believe we need to do something different with how we're connecting with our employees as far as giving them feedback and setting expectations, really that performance review type of approach. So naturally, my first conversation is why? Why do you think what's the catalyst for you today to have that feeling? What are your symptoms? What are you seeing? So I always start with an exploratory conversation. If from there we agree we're going to work together, I generally will start with a data gathering. Many people feel like the HR and people side of things is pretty wishy-washy. There's actually a lot of data you can collect to make it not be that way. So I will start, in this case, I've got about 15 interviews set up with the leadership team of this organization. We'll do all those via Zoom. I will do a big data gathering from that set of interviews, and I'll present a roadmap to the business to say, hey, based off what I understand, here's what you came to me with. Here's what I think we should go do and how we think we could do it. There might be
Mm.
things I recommend on there that maybe that's not my area of expertise, but I will get them in touch with somebody if they decide to do that. So they will walk away with a roadmap, a number of things I can help them with, and we can prioritize. Other things might be other people that I can connect them to. So I don't tend to have a canned approach other than my initial data gathering. What I uncover, I will share back with them, and then we together will decide what steps we take going forward.
Got it. So when you say you don't have a canned approach, it means it's customized and tailored to that individual organization or that individual.
Absolutely.
Help me understand your perspective on something because I talk to a lot of coaches and consultants, and one thing that I always bring up is the idea of scalability around a particular fulfillment model. And there's been other coaches that I've had on literally earlier this week, and they do a lot of one-on-one, but they've expressed frustrations when it comes to the scalability of that because obviously it's directly tied to their time. So when you think about that, what is your perspective?
So it's interesting. I'm a bit on the fence on it, to be quite honest, because I do the work because I enjoy it. One
Mm,
of the things I found myself getting frustrated with in the corporate space was that I had moved up enough levels to where I was teaching other people how to do the things I was good at. And I was missing the one on one leadership conversations to actually do the work to help the leader make the change. And so I've learned enough about myself to realize that in that equivalent, right, I was scaling to help more people do the stuff that I had done, but I had lost the joy. I was now creating spreadsheets and PowerPoints, and that was not fun, right? That was not fulfilling. And so I'm at this stage, most days, I would say I'm not so worried about the scalability right now because I'm in it so that I enjoy what I do. And if I get joy out of it and help other leaders find joy in their work, that's enough for me. Now, that being said, I am getting a book out this fall. I would like to do some speaking. And I think those are ways to then make the message scalable. I might be able to get to a stage where in the workshop space, I could offer larger workshops, probably hire or contract in some help to
Mm-hmm.
reach a larger audience. That would not be the coaching end of things.
Yeah.
That would be more the workshop, 1 or 2 days sort of management workshop, either within a company or a cohort, sign up in a city near you thing. So I think that is a scalability model if I decide I want to get that big. The other would be group coaching.
Yeah.
Again, so most often group coaching would be going into an organization, teaching some content, and then sticking around to coach them to actually apply the learnings and make it embedded in their behavior. That's also a more scalable way to coach because you can do 6 to 8 people in an hour instead of one person an hour, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But it is coaching is not in and of itself, I don't think, a big model that's intended for scalability. And I think most of us in the space, if we truly enjoy it, are just there for the pure joy and impact of it and not for the grandiose scaling of it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I think that's something important that people got to ask themselves is what is your ultimate vision for the life that you want to live and build a life or build a business that serves that and doesn't hinder
Yes.
or take away from that. I'm curious, let's shift over to the back end of the business. When it comes to acquiring customers and generating leads for your different offerings, how do you generate your leads currently? What does that look like?
Sure. So I moved to Sacramento in 2020 and I really started doubling down on work in 21. So I moved to a city and started a business that I knew zero people. So really starting from nothing. The first, I would say, 2.5 years was all about just being known in a space where people could get to know me, what we call, and you've probably heard this, know and trust, right? They need to know I exist. They need to like me as a human, and then they need to trust me, but also that I can do the work I say I can do, right? Slow and steady in the sense of I really got involved in the chamber locally. So I volunteer at the local chamber of commerce. Not that I get direct clients from that, but I get a reputation from that. And people, if people were to be asked about me, there's somebody who's going to know me and know the services that I've offered
Got
and
it.
can speak to who I am. A good amount of networking events in the spaces that I like to play. So really big, amazing entrepreneurial community here in Greater Sacramento region. So I've both volunteered and coached as well as been coached myself in that space. Certainly I have a website and a landing page and I'll post on LinkedIn and those types of things. I should do it more than I do. I get a newsletter out every once in a blue moon. Interestingly though, now, so I'm on sort of year 3.5, if you will, of this engine, so the snowball building, because I'm also starting a second venture or have been launching a completely separate business. I've taken my foot off the gas on marketing on the consulting side, but I'm finding that the customers are still coming because I've laid some really good foundations of networking in kind of like-minded, more in the business group sense, not just carte blanche networking events. And people are giving me referrals based off of knowing them for a couple of years and hearing me speak in different types of things.
Awesome. What's your focus now? Is it still growing the consulting piece, or is there, or walk us through the business that you're focused on right now if it's not the consulting side?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm still about 50-50. My consulting now is primarily just the work and less of the networking work to get the work. Right.
Yeah.
So that's fun. As somebody who enjoys helping people, the networking and marketing part is hard for me. It takes extra calories, right? It's a little bit challenging. So I am consulting. I still have a client base. My second business is a company called Give to Lead. So give number two lead. And it's all about changing up the in-person marketing activity.
Mm,
So you've likely been to many trade shows or events in your community where somebody is convincing you to do business with them by handing you a koozie or a keychain or a flashlight or insert tchotchke here, right? Something. And when I started my first booth as a consultant in 2022, I did the same thing. And I realized that I'm not creating any good relationship by trying to convince you to take a flashlight with my logo on it. I still have those flashlights in my closet. So what I wanted to do was say, I'd rather create community and eliminate waste all at the same time. So my choice is, as a company who has a booth, I would rather meet you at an event. Hey, Ammar, thanks for stopping by my table. I'd like to take my marketing budget, and instead of giving you something you don't want, in return for your lead information, for your contact information, I'm going to give my money to a nonprofit. And so essentially, rather than buying your contact information with a tchotchke, I'm now going to buy your contact information by giving to a
Yeah.
nonprofit. That changes our conversation. You and I, you might often leave my booth with a different feeling than picking up a pen at my neighbor's booth. You're likely going to remember me more. And then I can reach back out to you and say, hey, you helped me raise $75 today for the local XYZ Foundation. This is important to me because right now you know a little bit about me, and if you were going to do business with me, if you were interested, it's likely going to create a stronger relationship than randomly sticking you in my CRM and you get my newsletter 2 months later.
Interesting. That's a very cool business model. So essentially, instead of you taking the marketing budget and putting it into creating these pens or whatever the case may be, you tell them, "Hey, if you come in, I'll give this money to a nonprofit."
Exactly.
So they also contribute to that in a way.
Yes, by their engaging with
Exactly.
you, yes,
Not
then
monetarily,
that
but they're opting in to you, and then
yes,
they're having, I guess, second order contribution to,
yes.
in a sense. When you think of those two businesses and you think of the future, let's say 12 months from now, what is your main focus? What specific targets do you have for each of those?
Sure. So on the consulting side, I would love just to continue at I would say a medium pace, right? Enough that feels balanced to me to help organizations that by me helping them can keep going to do more good, right? They are better at what they're doing for the community because I've helped them with their organizational kind of talent process work. On the give to lead side, I'm really at this interesting crux where it's an existing product. It's been available for a year, but I'm stagnated on the marketing side. It's one of those, what I've found is it's not an urgent need. And so it takes some explaining. It's a nice to have for businesses. So selling a nice to have product can be challenging because you've got to convince people to spend money on it. Although it's not much, it's a pretty low price point. So really my goal over the next year is that I can learn enough in the customer engagement space to get this product out there in a much more meaningful way so that it really gets traction. Yes, it would be wonderful to make a wage and pay myself at some point for leading a startup, but really my goals are around landfill waste reduction because we're not throwing all this stuff away and dollars to nonprofits. So if I could hit eventually into the millions a year directed towards nonprofits instead of other ancillary marketing things, I think that would be a win.
Yeah, that's powerful. So there's a deeper mission behind just monetary in a sense.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say keep the consulting business going at a medium pace?
Sure. So I think so for me, it's when I started, it was a shotgun approach, right? I'd never done this before. So I just went out to all the different spaces that I felt like I could play and that I would probably enjoy playing. But that's exhausting in the space of trying to be all these different places. I also have 2 kids at home. So they're elementary school age. So I'm pretty busy there and I want to be busy there. I've made that choice for my life. So for me, it's saying, hey, where are the networks where I enjoy spending time and that are eventually leading to clients and narrowing some of those down. And I've started to do that already. So when I'm spending time there, I feel good about being there. I'm helping others, they're helping me, right? It's this reciprocal space, but not a ton on just networking to network's sake, right? And then because of those relationships, I'll have a couple clients at any one time that will roll through and I'm helping them. And it doesn't take a lot of work to get the next client, essentially, right? That they're rolling through at a pace that's sustainable, but not stressing me out.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like really the key and the focus is figuring out the most effective forms of lead generation and bringing in more clients without burning yourself out and just putting in all this
Absolutely.
time and effort
Yeah,
that may or may not yield to a result. Is that fair?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I would love to get your perspective on something. So you're 3.5 years in. If you could go back in time and talk to the younger version of yourself when you were just starting the consulting company and give yourself a piece of advice that you know now, but you didn't know it at the time. And it could have changed things in a sense. But obviously, I don't like to live in a frame of regret. But the purpose of this is, what would that be so that new entrepreneurs that are just starting out could take that piece of advice?
Sure. I think so. It's interesting. I had an old colleague of mine reach out to me. I'm coaching him now through a career transition, and he and I worked together probably at least 15 years ago. And so I'm getting a chance to do some of this right now, actually, because he's contemplating potentially this entrepreneurial space. And I said, you know what? Because of in the corporate space, like whether we agree with it or not, we come from this perfectionist mindset, right? Everything's got to be perfect the first time out. All your spreadsheets have to be perfect, your power, everything, right? Like there can't be a picture out of order. And that's not the entrepreneurial space. And what I've learned, I would say I knew it then, and that'd be a lie now, right? Living through it to say just start. Of course, I spent time, let me get my website and my messaging and my bank account and all these other things and an LLC formed and all that stuff. And it wasn't wrong. It helped me methodically think through some things. However, I could have just gone out to LinkedIn and said, hey, all, I'm really excited to start offering some coaching and I've got room for 5 clients right now. Who in my network needs a little bit of support in this space, and see if I even liked it. I mean, thankfully I do enjoy it, right? But I invested a good amount of money. If I didn't like it, that would have been sunk cost. And in this case, this gentleman that I've been coaching, I just said, hey, why don't you go out there and try? If you think you might want to coach other people in the space you've grown in your own career, just
Mm.
offer it out there. Say, hey, for 3 months for $200 a month, I'll try have a 1 hour call with me and we'll work through these things. People pick you up on it. Seems like it works. If they don't, change the model. Just really low expense and low commitment. The hardest hump in that space is believing in yourself, believing that you have enough to offer somebody else. And really, it's just that, right? Self-belief. And then this idea that you didn't have to have what you would have had in the corporate space to present the same thing, right?
Yeah,
You don't need a budget allocation and you don't need a presentation and a PowerPoint and a finance deck and all those things. You just need to say, I'm worth it. I'm good enough. I have this expertise to offer. I'm going to throw it out there and see who bites. Have a hypothesis and test it mentality. I wish I had trusted that about myself when I first started. I don't know that I'd end up anywhere differently other than probably a little bit less stressed out.
yeah, fair enough. Because less investment going into it initially. It reminds me of a quote that I heard: "Sell first, build later." So the idea is, so many people get so stuck on the thing that they want to build, and they don't even know if people actually want it. They don't even, is there even
Yeah.
a
Yep.
market for it? Especially when we're talking about tech companies. Coaching consulting is a little bit different. But if you're like putting money into a product or developing your curriculum or putting all this time and effort, but you don't know, does this actually solve a real need in this world? And I think that's super powerful. Go talk to your ICP and figure out, what are they looking for? What do they need the most help with? And then offer
Right.
solutions based off of that. I love
Yeah. And that's the stage I'm in on the give to lead side. I've gone back a year later and I'm doubling down on my customer interviews again to say, hey, I know why I did it. And I'm my own ideal client in a sense. But if there aren't enough of me to go around, then it's not going to be a viable product. So I'm taking my own kind of advice and going back to the kind of customer interviews again.
I love that. What's the best way for people to reach out to you if they're interested in some sort of coaching, consulting that you provide?
Yeah. Email, always an easy way to grab me. LinkedIn, I generally am pretty decent within a few days of checking LinkedIn messages. Both of my websites have a way to get a hold of us. So any and all of those would be a wonderful way to find me.
Perfect. Marcie, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Great to see you.
Yeah, you as well. So that wraps up another insightful episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to scale your business and really enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.